Hi everyone, welcome to today's Bonsai. On today's episode, the Bougainvillea I think is in dire need for a repot. Welcome to Bonsai Acres. Welcome everyone into the plant room on a blustery day. When I came home from work today, the basketball hoop was on the ground in the street. We had gusts in Minnesota of 50 and 60 miles an hour in certain areas. It's still in the 30s, but I don't feel like that anymore. It'll cool down tomorrow and then back up into those 40 pluses for the next several days. Windy. You had to hold your hats. Today, I need to take care of the Bougainvillea. So my good friend William has shared his trees with me over the last couple of years. We are co-owners of the trees, and I am curating his trees, and then he shows them off in his garden in the spring, summer, and fall, and then I take care of them over the winter months. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the Bougainvillea, but we have to get out of the pot and do some fixing of the soil, I think. I think it's been at least 3 minimum years since it was repotted last, maybe a lot longer. So it's, kind of indoors now with temps not going below 50, we hope, but in here it never does, never below 60 really, and it's getting into the 70 area, 74 in the day. Should be great. We want a really well-drained soil for our bougainvilleas and moderate watering and a lot of sun. But in the winter months, we have our artificial lights in here. So let's get this thing out of the pot. Let's start getting rid of all this old soil so we can prepare it for its new repotting. As I start to scrape down the sides of the pot, one thing we have to remember with bougainvilleas is they have very delicate root systems, so we don't want to damage the roots as much as possible. We want to untangle them, get them in that 360 pattern all the way around, the radial root pattern around our tree. But we have to make sure that we're not going to damage these roots. So we're going to be very delicate today as best as we can. Interesting, no drainage screen on that one. It must be in the soil somewhere here. So we'll clean up this pot and we'll reuse this pot maybe, but I'm wondering if I should put it in a slightly smaller pot because this is a pretty small tree for this big of a pot. We have a trunk down here that's about 1 inch thick and we have about a 3-inch deep pot. It's really kind of big, but we'll see what I have and we'll see what we maybe put this into. Lots of really fine roots at the bottom there. There's the other broken down drainage screen. Wow, that's been in there a long time if that's breaking down. If that breaks that easy, that makes me nervous. Okay, so we got a lot of soil to sift through here. We're gonna go as gently as we can. We got a fair amount of weeds on top, and we're gonna go gently so we don't disturb these roots as much as possible. We'll give it a haircut, and we'll get this thing in a pot. So as I mentioned, the Bougainvillea needs full sun and high temperatures to produce the flowers that they do. And for that reason, it should be outside in the sun as much as possible. Of course, for us in Minnesota, we have to bring them inside in the fall and keep them in all winter long with as much artificial light as possible, nice sunny exposed windows. And in a cool room, we can have it in a cool room, but we have to have sufficient light. So we want as much light as possible. And again, never below 50 degrees Fahrenheit, 10 degrees Celsius. Part of the reason why I'm repotting right now is that the tree has lost some leaves. I don't think it's been repotted for a long time. I don't know how root bound this might be, so I really want to check it out, see if I can revive this tree. The Bougainvillea is an evergreen shrub, little tree or thorny vine, little trumpet-shaped flowers which grow in clusters of 3 and come with 3 pretty bright paper bracts, most often magenta or purple in color. And as I mentioned, we repot every 2 to 3 years with most species, no different here with the Bougainvillea, a very well-drained soil. And we want to make sure that we're very delicate with these roots, as I mentioned. We want to have moderate watering, so we don't want to overwater our Bougainvillea. The tree isn't terribly root bound, but it certainly hasn't been repotted for Again, 3 years minimum. And we're going to get some fresh soil in here and trim up a little bit of roots and see if we can get this thing snuggled into a pot. Again, I don't know if I'm going to go in the same pot or not. It depends on what I have here on hand. I do believe I have one similar blue pot that I got from William that's outside right now. I could go fetch that one. That would be a little bit smaller. That might let this thing hug into the pot a little bit more snug, but still big enough to grow. We'll see. We'll see how much I take off in the root structure. We are looking for 360-degree root plane and one plane. We don't want roots up here, and roots down here. Now, I'm not sure why this one was left. It's got a very 90-degree angle going this way, and I think it's the time of this tree where we are going to take that one off. We want to improve the look of this tree. We need that little chunky root to go off. So we are going to go ahead and sift through these roots now, and we're going to start taking off some of these layers, and then we'll get it back in its new pot. You can see all kinds of really nice roots right here flaring out. There's some little ones in here too. But then there's a couple of big higher ones and some smaller higher ones. We can take that one off, for instance. That's kind of up high on the root plane. If you want to see a good 360-degree root plane and radial root pattern, I want you to check out my friend, the Bald Yeti. Go check out Billy's channel and see his original tree, which is a Ficus benjamina, and see the beautiful root flare that he has, 360 all the way around. He just released a video on that just a couple of days ago. I'm going to take this other one, high one, off here as well. This one's too high for the other ones. So again, thick trunk, or a thick root we take off. We want to promote the littler ones. And so, you know, here's the main root plane right here. These are still even a little bit high. So check out Billy's channel. Check out the Bald Yeti. Check out his Ficus benjamina repot. Now, what's fun about Billy's channel is he does a year in a review on his videos. So he takes video over the course of a year and then shows you all the progress. It takes so much patience to do that, patience that I don't typically have. That's some phenomenal patience to work on a tree and then to show it after a whole year's worth of growth. Pretty phenomenal. I love that. And so go check that out and see a great radial root pattern. I've got some big roots left on here and still some small ones. So this guy right here, I would cut off right there regardless. This one's going up. I would cut that off regardless. But I'm considering taking this and this root and these two big roots out for all these little ones, because this one's kind of shooting up again. I don't like it shooting up. I'm going to take that one off. And this one too is just a little bit thicker, a little bit higher still. We'll take that one off. And then we can just kind of see what's left here through some of this dirt. We still have plenty of roots kind of going here. We got these right here going out in this area that maybe didn't have a lot of roots back when they repotted this last. There we go. So we have a little bit better 360 root pattern right now. A couple of long straggly roots. We just don't need that, right? And these are going up again. So let's, well, and this one is, you know, this is rotten right here. See? Why this tree perhaps wasn't doing so well is this main root, one of these roots, just not in a good spot right there. And so we cut that off. Then we have these two that are also, look at this one, it grows backwards towards the tree. We certainly don't want any of that. So we'll cut that off right there. And then this is kind of the last big root right here. Let's just cut that off for balance on this tree. Then we have similar sized roots all the way around this tree. These can all heal up and give us a little bit of taper down there on this tree, more than we saw before. And as you spin the tree around, this one's just a little bit high, this one's just a little bit high. And there we have a nice flare with all these roots, a flare of this trunk that'll heal and I think look really nice in time. So there we go. We got rid of some of those big chunky roots. Some of them rotted off. And now I do feel a bit of a taproot down here that I want to investigate just a little bit more, and then we'll get this thing in a new pot. Yeah, so we've got a big, thick, chunky root right there. This is not the root plane anymore. This is the root plane right here. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to take that right off. There we go. We took that kind of chunky thing off right there. And let's go ahead and give this another little squirt of water. Going to make a bit of a mess here. And I think these roots here are going to support this tree just fine. So I'm going to lay this down, get myself some paper towel so I don't spill all over me. And yeah, that radial root pattern right there is just going to be so much better for this tree than what we were working with. So I'm very happy with that result. So as you can see, we've got all these nice roots heading out 360 degrees here. We've got a couple more stragglers that are long, like this guy right out here. And the rest of these, here we go. Let's just leave that there and let these all get this tree in some really healthy conditions. So we'll get this thing in a new pot. So I'm going to figure out my new pot and let's get it all potted up. So here was the pot it was in. Beautiful pot. It's got a really dark blue black look to it. Is that black? That might be black, Dave. Really big pot. I have one that's just a little bit shorter, blue, also from William. A little bit too big. And this one's just a little bit smaller. And it has kind of those beveled edges in here, corners like the original. So I think William will like that. We'll go ahead and put some drainage screens, meshes in there, and then we'll put some soil in here and get this thing going. I'm starting in the pot with a bit of bigs for a really well-drained soil because these do like well-drained soil. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick with a size soil that's a little bit bigger than the previous soil he was using, but it's my smalls. So I'm going to go ahead and put some of that in and build up our mound, and we're going to get our tree in there. Now, I contemplated wiring this one, but it's going to be in my possession for another 3 months and should develop and get solid in here. And I have a couple of big rocks in there that I can hold this in and it will be just fine. Not on a day like today. This would be not the time to put this out. Okay, so there's some fun possible literati going on with this Bougainvillea. We have nothing growing down below. And again, I've only had it for a couple of years and a couple of branches died off. We got this really fun branch right here. If you cut this thing off right here, you would have this really fun. There's not a ton of taper though. So that's why I'm hoping like right up here is the literati and we can maybe cut this off next time. But we're just gonna plant it. We're not gonna cut anything off today. We're just gonna plant it. And I wanna see if I can get this thing off to my left, your right. And we'll just get this kind of at an angle here and let's see that thing starting to grab on and hug that soil. And lean over a little bit this way to cover up some of this negative space. There we go. And as you can see it there, it's a right to left lean, and for me it's a left to right, and we can get this movement up this way. Now, what we typically want to stay away from is this part being straight up and that moving over. So I do want to kind of slender it over a little bit more of a lean. And that's where the rocks are going to come into play. But let's go ahead and pour in a whole bunch of more soil here. See if I can do this with one hand. Oh yeah, oh yeah. All right. And see if this will hold this guy in here for temporary. Now it's always good to keep rocks around because you never know when you're going to need them. Mounding up this dirt a little bit because of the precariousness of the root structure. It's not very long and spreading out into this pot right now, but it will. And this isn't a bad mound because we can see the lip of the pot. All the soil is below the lip everywhere else. And there we go. And if I go ahead and I get some of these rocks kind of tucked in there, we go ahead and take care of that real quick. And then one thing that always helps right away is a little bit of water, because the water is going to hold these rocks into form a little bit better. I'm not going to water it real severely yet because I have no drain tub below me, but right there, just a little bit of rocks. It'll start going through a little bit at the bottom. And let me spin it around for you there. So there's that side of the tree, and as I look at this side of the tree, I see that nice cascading branch over there more, instead of coming out in front of us. But then this side right there, you can see it come up this way and maybe back over this way. This might be in our face too much. But one way or the other, we've got a little bit of a lean here. It's not straight up perpendicular, up and down. It's a little bit of a lean. We can even hug it a little bit more and put some soil in there to kind of make sure that that soil is hugging into those rocks. Or the soil is hugging into those roots, I should say. We want a little bit of a lean. And then here's where the rocks come in. And what a couple of fabulous rocks I have right here. This one looks like it could go right there, like it's going to hold it right into the ground, like it was growing over that curve. Here's another one. Now this one's just more flat, but I can put it right there. Holds it in place really well. Yeah, those can work just fine. Now I can give it a really good dousing of water, make sure it's getting underneath those rocks and all the way around. Now, moderate watering most of the time, but right now I want to rinse some of these rocks out a little bit, get some of that powdery sediment to go through the pot. So it's already dripping brown water. That's nice to see. And we're just going to go ahead, give this a super good washing right now, and then we'll water it a little bit more moderately as it starts to take root in this new pot. Now, what a beautiful blue pot this is. As you get some water on this pot, you can really see it just shine with that really dark cobalt blue look. And with the flowers, I left a couple of with the flowers are the white flowers inside. I forget the bracts. These are called bracts, I think, and there's a little couple flower buds in there. 3 in there, 3 in this one. But that color, look at that color, huh? Isn't that fantastic? That color is just fabulous. And these have kind of a variegated leaf. So a beautiful variegation. This is the newer growth right here, and it's super, super pretty with that new growth. A little bit darker red, and then it pales up a little bit into the green and the white look, but it's kind of pink when it first comes out. Beautiful species that he has here. So we have a little bit of kind of a little swoop here to the right, a little bit of gnarliness here, but then it goes up, not a ton of taper from here to here. So we have to decide in the future, do I keep this as a literati branch? Do I keep letting it go taller and taller and hope these grow and thicken up? We're gonna see. I have a little bit of fertilizer in this water right now, so just a little slight hint of nutrients. Brand new soil, very well flushed out soil. It's gonna drain really, really well. And there we have it, the Bougainvillea, I hope rescued to a point where it's just gonna take off. And then this year at Williams Place, I hope this thing just shoots out a ton of growth. They are kind of, like I said earlier, a tree, a shrub, or a vine, and so they do have some interesting grow patterns. And look at that branch right there. Never a wire on that one, I don't believe. And up here too, you just clip and grow, keep what you want, and it's just gonna turn into a really fun tree. And they just can be so beautiful. And you head to warmer climates, and these are just in people's yards, just down in Mexico, and I've seen these in just huge people's front yards. It's just crazy. I believe Steve from Steve's Backyard Bonsai has Bougainvillea in his front yard, I think. His pictures of his front yard in the bloom time of year is just fabulous. So that's going to wrap it up. We got a Bougainvillea kind of rescued, I hope. We got rid of that soil. It's been in there for at least 3 years. We've got it in a new pot. I didn't wire it in, but I got these rocks. It's going to be in the plant room for another 2 months for sure. Well, at least a month of March. I won't take it out to the passive solar green frame until maybe April. But then it'll be protected in there too from winds and any critters. So we're in good shape. So go check out Billy, go check out the Bald Yeti and that 365-degree root spread on his Ficus benjamina, one of his original trees. So cool to see the progress over the years. So you can check out his playlist on that, I'm sure, as well. And yeah, we got another one done here, pre-spring repotting starting in earnest for sure. So hey, take care of you, take care of your bonsai, and we'll catch you all on the next one. Welcome to Bonsai Acres.